Live 365 and Ustream. John Sega here with Kevin Barnett. It's the BS Report here on a Tuesday evening. It is approximately 8:30, and we've got our Super Bowl predictions in. For recap, I had the Denver Broncos 24-21. You had the Seattle Seahawks 17-14. I had Peyton Manning as MVP, and you yourself, you had Marshawn Lynch, the Beast Mode, who just signed an endorsement deal with Skittles.
Yeah, it took him long enough.
Yeah, it's a smart thing. But now let's get into the recap of the NFL season, because it's America's sport right now. It's coming down to its final game. It's time to pick some award winners.
And because you don't know anything about hockey.
It's true. I do not know anything about hockey. I know if the Bruins win or lose, and that's about it.
Bruins are right now second in the Eastern Conference.
I know, and they're winning right now, so life is good. But all right, let's get to the award winners. Let's first start with the most obvious. Who do you have as MVP of the National Football League?
I think it's most obvious. We'll agree with this. I would be shocked if it's not unanimous. If it's not unanimously Peyton Manning.
I completely agree.
Looking to become only the second unanimous MVP behind Tom Brady, who did so
2007.
3 years ago.
Was it 3 years ago?
Yes, Brady actually got 49. Brett Favre had a vote that year.
Did he really?
Brett Favre had a vote that year.
That writer should be fired.
Oh. Well, hey, Favre did have a good year that year. Let's be real.
Okay, anyways, I agree. Peyton Manning, MVP, hands down, I think, without a doubt, is the MVP this year. He set the new touchdown passing record. He also set the new passing record. He basically rewrote every record you could possibly imagine, doing this after neck surgery, after neck surgery, after neck surgery.
And, I also think that he is going to win Offensive Player of the Year as well.
Agreed.
I'm not really for the MVP getting the same thing as Offensive Player of the Year. But
how could you not this year, though?
It's too rare. I mean, you have to. He had the best season any quarterback has ever had. Not even close. 55 touchdowns.
Unthinkable.
55 touchdown pass.
He started off the year great with 70. He never stopped.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe it.
All right, moving on. We both got Peyton Manning for MVP. An interesting one with a lot of candidates. Coach of the Year.
You know what? I broke my Coach of the Year list down into about 3 or 4 guys I think who are viable candidates.
Okay, list them off.
I'm going to start off with Andy Reid.
Agreed. He's definitely a candidate.
Ron Rivera.
Definitely a candidate.
Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Belichick.
My man. Definitely a candidate.
That's who I kind of narrowed it down to. Ron Rivera, Andy Reid, and Bill Belichick. If you had to go on with what you had to overcome, actually, I think it would be Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he's going to get it because, A, the Patriots have won the division, 10 of 11 years in a row. I don't think he's going to get it because they were not, honestly, I was watching them, and I'm not saying, I don't think they're that talented. They really aren't that talented, New England. They got a lot of good pieces around them. But with all the injuries they had to overcome in the playoffs, when I watched them against the Colts, I was like, I just don't know how they do it. I didn't know how they do it. They kicked the Colts' butts, honestly. Like guys like LeGarrette Blount, Jamie Collins had a big game that day. With all those guys like Gronk and losing Welker. Gronk hurt, losing Welker.
Wilfork,
Mayo. Wilfork.
Spikes also as well
Spikes in the playoffs. I was shocked. But I don't think they're going to give it to Belichick just because of how good they've been for so long.
And, no, the media doesn't really like Belichick either. So he's definitely at a disadvantage there.
I think, though, it's a real toss-up between Ron Rivera and Andy Reid. But if I honestly had to pick Coach of the Year, I would give it to Ron Rivera.
And he just got a 3-year contract extension.
I would give it to Ron because you know why? Andy Reid with yes the Chiefs weren't very good last year, but at the same time, the Chiefs had 7 Pro Bowlers last year. Chiefs had talent going into the season. All they needed was a good coach. Andy Reid's he's an established coach. He implemented his system, which was perfect, and then he also had a quarterback who could run a system perfectly in Alex Smith. But Carolina was a better football team, I thought, though. They were not a good football team last year either. And Ron Rivera, whose job was really on the hot seat.
He was. He was definitely in the hot seat at the start of the year.
They started out 0-2. The Chiefs started out 9-0. And the Panthers started out 0-2, and they had ended up...
they ended the year, frankly, on different paths. Carolina was getting really hot at the right time, and Kansas City, by the end, was faltering just a little bit.
They both had the same record. No, actually, Carolina had a better record.
Carolina did have a better record, yes.
Carolina had a better record for a team that started out 0-2 compared to the Chiefs, 9-0. See, the funny thing with the Chiefs, they only lost 6 games. They lost 6 games to 3 teams. They lost to 3 teams twice, so... But I would give it to Ron Rivera.
Listen, that's a fantastic choice. I think there are a ton of candidates. Andy Reid definitely won. Ron Rivera definitely won. Bill Belichick, I think, is definitely on the list. Also, you can't overlook Chip Kelly. First year NFL head coach, bringing in a system nobody thought would work, and he tinkered it in the middle of the season.
For a guy who traditionally can't run that system
exactly.
either, in Foles.
Nick Foles had a phenomenal year. Listen, I think I think Chip Kelly's definitely in the conversation. Also, they didn't make the playoffs, but Bruce Arians in Arizona.
Fantastic, yeah.
If Arizona made the playoffs, he'd be in this conversation right
Big
now.
time. I think he still should be in
I think he still should be.
He wouldn't win it also because he won Coach of the Year last year. So
Listen, back-to-back it would be incredible. Listen, I agree with you. I don't think they're going to give it to Andy Reid because they faltered at the end and they didn't win a playoff game. I don't think they're going to give it to Bill Belichick because no one. I mean, granted, you have a Hall of Fame quarterback in Tom Brady, so you already had that established, and you did overcome a lot of injuries. But you also play.
This on paper was their worst team in a couple of years, I thought too, and you still made it to the AFC.
Yes,
I know voting is done before the playoffs, though I believe.
And they also play in the AFC East, which wasn't strong this year. I think that's also going to hurt the Patriots. I think it comes down to Chip Kelly and Ron Rivera, and for me, it's really a complete toss-up between those two.
Yeah.
Because by the end of the season, the Eagles' offense was flying full force, and it was terrifying.
That game, it meant nothing to them, and they put up 54 on the Bears.
Exactly. It was absolutely great. But again, I think I'm going to go with Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
I think it's by a slight, teeny
you had
edge for Ron Rivera.
A kid who many people were questioning his maturity in Cam Newton. You have an aging Steve Smith who's unbelievable how he's still on. A player, I can't believe he's still good. He's designed for speed. I can't believe how good he is now. You had a questionable running game coming into the year with Williams, getting hurt. But then Luke Kuechly, I know Boston College.
Boston College!
That defense was a force to be reckoned with. And when you look at the teams that they beat, too, they beat some really good teams.
They did beat some really good teams. Listen, they were a grinding team, and I think Ron Rivera, he was on the hot seat, and to be able to really dispel all the critics in one fell swoop.
1-12-2 in the last 14 weeks.
Well, one fell swoop, every single critic was gone. I think he wins it by a slight edge over Chip Kelly. If Chip Kelly won a playoff game or got farther in the playoffs.
Isn't the voting done before the playoffs, though?
Again, but this is in my mind. This is in
Stanko's mind.
This is in my mind. If Chip Kelly was able to advance in the playoffs, I think that he would have gotten my vote. But Ron Rivera for be able to get the bye, and then to lose to a San Francisco team who was more talented.
And they still beat them in the regular season.
season.
Candlesticks.
But I think San Francisco was more talented than Carolina anyway. I don't hold that loss really against them much, so that's why I think it goes to Ron Rivera slightly.
Okay.
Also, though, I do want to point out, Offensive Player of the Year, they might give it to Jamal Charles over Peyton Manning.
You think so? I thought maybe McCoy may have had a better year than Charles. Fantasy-wise, Charles, because we both had Charles, I know, on our team. So.
Wait, what did you finish in fantasy?
I finished third.
I finished second for the second straight year.
I finished third. I had I went up a kid, Peyton Manning. Week 16 was our semifinals, actually.
Okay.
Week 16 was our semifinals, so I went up against Peyton Manning, who played Houston, and he dropped 4 touchdown passes.
That's
Andrew
rough.
Luck only got me 14 points, even though they beat the Chiefs that week. So, and then Pierre Garçon had a good week for him, but he beat me by like 23 points. Where he really got me was I had started the Titans defense against Jacksonville.
That's understandable.
Yeah, but the Colts had 17 points that week against Kansas City, which I didn't expect, and I wasn't a fan of starting my defense against my running back, my best player. So then, and then he also had Edwin Baker of the Browns, and I have Josh Gordon, and then Baker took away Gordon's touchdowns, which would always go to Gordon. So, but Josh Gordon, he was a stud. I loved having him on my team.
He will be one of, if not the top wide receiver pick next year.
He was the top overall receiver in fantasy.
That's why I think he'll be one of the first 3 wide receivers.
You always have to go with Megatron, AJ Green, maybe as the top 2, I'd say. But Josh Gordon was a stud this year, and he did it with 3 different quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so we're sidetracking.
Okay, yes.
We already covered MVP. We already covered Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. Who you got?
Defensive Player of the Year. There's a lot of good. I mean, people are saying Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman. Luke Kuechly, man, though. Luke Kuechly.
Kevin Barnett speaks fantastic words of wisdom.
Luke Kuechly.
My man.
He may have mugged Gronkowski in the end zone.
Let's not remember that moment.
But I will. Okay. I like playing with you in that, but no. He's a tackling machine, and he was the leader of a big turnaround on that defense. I mean, we give Rivera Coach of the Year. Definitely, I agree with that, but. Without Luke Kuechly, I don't think that defense is the same.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be Defensive Rookie of the Year, and in both our minds, Defensive Player of the Year this year.
He's a second-year player, actually.
Yeah, no, again, last year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, this year to be Defensive Player of the Year. He's marqueing himself as one of the top linebackers in the NFL in only his second
Patrick
season.
Willis, you could hear an argument for even maybe, but
He was hurt. He was hurt a little bit this
but
season.
when he did play, he was dominant.
Oh no, I agree.
He
I
always
think it
is,
goes. I think it goes Luke Kuechly. Then I think you have to do Richard Sherman.
Richard Sherman, yeah.
And then I'd put Earl Thomas third behind Richard Sherman.
I agree. I can definitely see the argument for both.
All right, so we got all those awards out of the way, and before we take another break and before we delve
No,
into...
we did not actually. We had the rookies of the year.
Oh, the rookies of the year. That's just true. Who you got?
I mean, defense, I think we
You
can
got
make
defensive rookie.
Kiko Alonso, honestly.
Yeah, so Buffalo linebacker. That's
Yes.
right. Yep.
I mean, he goes in the defensive player of the year. See, offensive player of the year, I'm going to go. At first, halfway it said Giovanni Bernard, but now I'm still not going Eddie Lacy. I'm going Keenan Allen.
We are in agreement today.
Keenan
Keenan Allen
Allen
came out of nowhere for San Diego.
He was originally committed as a free safety to Alabama. A free safety. I remember that, too. And then all of a sudden, I remember reading on Rivals.com. That's my source for recruiting, honestly, for high school recruiting. I follow that. They said, can Cal land Alabama safety and Alabama commit Keenan Allen? I was like, why would you ever leave Alabama and go to Cal? Saban apparently said, no, you're not playing receiver. We're too loaded here already. We don't need you to play receiver, and we don't think you're going to be good enough. So then Keenan Allen basically is just like, you know what? Now I'm going to Cal.
Yeah, screw you, Nick Saban. How many people say that?
Now I'm going to Cal. And at first it didn't look good because he wasn't good when he first started receiver Cal, and they asked him to move back to safety. And apparently he begged and pleaded with the coaching staff and said, please let me play receiver. Give me a chance. The rest is history. He had over 1,000 receiving yards and he had 8 touchdowns this year, and he played fantastic in the playoffs too.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree.
Nothing against Eddie Lacy, because without them, they wouldn't have even been. Without him, they wouldn't have even been close. To
No,
the
again, I
playoffs,
think it was the shell shock that Keenan Allen provided because no one expected it. People expected Eddie Lacy to be good. No one expected Keenan Allen to do what he did, and that's why I think you have to give it to him because he rose from nowhere. And I agree with you, Keenan Allen. I think definitely San Diego. He was a big reason why they made that playoff push.
It is a big toss-up because without Eddie Lacy, the Packers don't make the playoffs. But the Rodgers hurt all those weeks. He stepped up big time.
He did.
The defense is gunning for him. But I think when it just comes to overall performance, Keenan Allen established himself as like a legitimate number 1 receiver after 1 year in the NFL already.
It's true.
So
I agree with you. I agree with you. We both got that. All right, so now we got all the awards. We agreed a lot on the awards.
I'm scared.
We agreed a lot on the awards, but all right, let's get to this. Before we take a commercial break and before we delve into NBA, I want to get what was your most memorable moment of this NFL season? What moment stood out to you more than any other that's still locked in your head?
There's always so many, and there's always so many. I mean, I don't really want. I mean, I'm going to shy away probably from my New York Giants, honestly.
Okay.
And I think the moment that honestly stood out to me, I mean, when I was probably Peyton Manning's return to Indianapolis. Honestly,
that was a great moment.
That's probably what I would go with. Honestly, I mean, just because I know you as a Patriot fan, I know could say this. He's been your biggest rival.
Oh, personal rivalry? Yes.
Yeah.
Hands down.
But it's still hard to dislike the guy.
Listen.
He is a classy human.
Peyton Manning as a person is one of the best humans on this planet.
I mean, as a football player, he's terrible to play against. You would not want to play against him.
Listen, this year he has risen up in the conversation for best quarterback of all time.
That tribute that they had though, when they have a kid who probably has a chance to be better than Peyton Manning, they have their own kid and they still were warming up to Peyton Manning like that. Was unbelievable, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that was an absolutely great moment. I'm gonna go my 3-2-1. My third most memorable moment: the Colts comeback against the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Yeah,
that was to start off the playoffs with. That was just wow. Just that comeback was absolutely amazing. I'm watching that in a hotel room. I'm on a road trip with the women's basketball team, and me and my buddy Mike Rich are just going nuts.
Yeah, the Chiefs, poor them. They had so many people
and
get hurt.
They competed in that game with Jamal Charles getting hurt too.
It wasn't just Jamal Charles.
Exactly, everyone was getting hurt. They still competed, and then the Colts were able to come back. Remarkable game. Number 2 for me, the Patriots comeback win against the Broncos. Because all hope seemed to be lost, and then just like that, they were able to come out of nowhere and get that dub. Incredible game. I think, regardless, I'm a Patriots fan, so obviously it was great for me. But I think as a football fan, that game,
wonderful game to watch.
Fantastic, because that Brady-Manning rivalry. That game was more entertaining than the playoff game. I think definitely without a doubt. But the number 1 moment for me, I'm sorry, I'm sticking with my Patriots. It was the Patriots comeback against New Orleans. Because that day...
I missed that game, actually.
See, that day, the reason that game was so amazing is because it was a prelude to David Ortiz hitting that grand slam.
The bullpen cop.
And that day, as a whole, is one of my favorite days ever as a sports fan.
It's understandable.
And that first comeback, the Patriots coming, Kenbrell Tompkins catching that touchdown in the corner from Brady against the Saints, will always live in my head as one of a great final drive and then a prelude to one of the greatest Boston sporting events ever.
You're lucky you have that because I'm a Rangers, Mets, and Knicks fan. So I've only had the Giants really in my life.
Hey, you got that stadium win though the other day against the Devils.
You know what? It was fantastic. I went to the Winter Classic, and you know what? I went to the Winter Classic when the Rangers played in Philadelphia. And now I wish, I'm not going to the Yankee Stadium games, but I wish, honestly, because Yankee Stadium looks beautiful for it. It looks fantastic. The ice was terrible, though. I'll give them that. The ice was not good.
The lake because there was sun glare, right?
No, the actual ice, though. You see the puck keeps going on. I'm a huge hockey fan, and honestly, it was spectacular to watch that game. And then my Rangers dominated it, so. And they put up 6 goals on Martin Brodeur, so. And I've never I respect Martin Brodeur as a hockey goalie. I mean, he's more well known than most hockey, but to the general public, to people who don't follow hockey. But it was great putting up 6 goals on him.
I'm sure it was him being so good for so long.
Yeah.
All right, so there we go. That's our NFL talk.
He's losing his job to a Boston College guy, actually. Too.
Boston College, dominant in hockey. But that's the NFL talk, and then we of course delve into a little bit of NHL for you. We'll come back after this short commercial break, talking to the developments of the NBA. Can anyone stop Kevin Durant? And who is the best team in the NBA right now? We'll take a short commercial break. This is the BS Report on Live365.com.